It's my pleasure to be here to represent not just the City Council, but actually the citizens of Regina. I am a lifelong Regina person. I have a sport background, so well, I think there's an awful lot of things that are very important. I'm going to use sport as a bit of my theme today. And I want to talk a little bit about three things that you had something to do with your partnership and so on. One was Ricanson Park, one was the Optimist Arena, and one was Optimist Baseball. I want to begin with the park. Park happens to be in the area of the city that I live and represent. And I spent a day with Rick Hansen when he was back in Regina a few years ago. He's an unbelievable person. And so his legacy, not only in Regina, but of course in Canada and around the world, is to be more than admired. But so is the park that's in Regina. The people that are the community association in the area that I represent use the park as a place for people to gather. If you would ever go there on a Saturday or Sunday in particular, it's a mob scene because the parking lot is full. There are kids there playing. The families are gathered for a barbecue and so on. It's a place to be, and it's a very respected place to be. And it's in A.E. Wilson Park, which is just a wonderful, wonderful setting. The vision of having a notion of a park for kids that have disabilities to play with kids who have abilities, if those are the right phrases now, was wonderful because people gather. That's about community. My second story is about the Optimist Arena. So when I was a kid, I played hockey, and I'll just describe the situation. We had exhibition stadium. There was bantam teams and midget teams, of which there were 4 in the city, so a total of 8 teams. There were the Pats, there was the Senior Caps, and there was a juvenile league, a little bit, they played with senior men. So in other words, there wasn't a whole lot of kids that played indoor hockey, just outdoor hockey. And then someone had the wherewithal to build the Al Ritchie Center. So we had 2, and a few more kids wanted to play hockey, but not many. But then some folks got together, the Kinsman and the Optus said, we'll build more rinks. And that gave the chance for hockey to develop in our community, for more kids to play. And it gave the city at the time, and I don't know, Larry may know more about this than I recall, but what happened was, I think the city saw the change in our community that said we need to have figure skating, because the old Wascana Winter Club, see how old I am? The old Wascana Winter Club was where you could go skating and you could do figure skating, but you never played hockey there. And it was an old building. And you could go to Exhibition Stadium on a Sunday night and you could go skate with your girlfriend. That was the only time you could do that, unless you went to an outdoor rink. All of a sudden, you gave us a north and south rink. You gave us another reason for people to gather. And all of a sudden, hockey started to explode. And as a city, we started to build more rinks. Currently, we have more rinks per capita than anywhere else in Western Canada. Now, you know why on Hockey Night in Canada, they look at Saskatchewan as being a leader, and why Hockeyville and so on like that always looks towards Saskatchewan as a place to be. Those people, those original Optimist people back at that time, had a vision, and the vision fulfilled with kids getting to play. My third one is about baseball. Now, I know I have boyish good looks, and I wish I still had my hair, but believe it or not, 52 years ago, a group of us showed up out at the park, and we were forming a team. It was called the Legion. And actually, if you look at the book over there, there's a name you might recognize. It was kind of a thrill to see it, actually. And so what I'd like to report back is what happens 52 years later to what some of those people became. Because while on one hand, you may have provided a park, I think really the legacy is what happens after that. What do those people do? I'll give you a couple. One guy that I played with was a guy named Gary Mearns. I haven't seen Gary in a long, long time, but I know he went to Saskatoon. He became a very respected lawyer, and he's still living happily ever after. The second one was a guy named Terry Bullich. Now, you might remember that name because Terry went off and played college football, came back and played for the Riders. And then he became a financial advisor, was very successful. And in the last while, what he did is he made sure he organized the Rider alumni so that as we moved into the new stadium, they had a place to be. Terry passed away last year. But what he also did is he made sure that the only one I met, a daughter, she became one of the very top soccer players in Saskatchewan. Larry Wright. Larry Wright didn't play any more baseball than I know of after that. He just decided to become the #1 draft choice in Philadelphia. Flyers. Rolly, I think you would remember that name from way back. And Larry came back to Regina and he retired as a captain of our fire department. But he also had children. Larry had 2 sons. Both became among the top basketball players ever to play for the U of R, and one is currently a champion in terms of golf in Saskatchewan. Harley Tupin, he became the head of the Saskatchewan Safety Council, a very, very respected person for decades because he extended that safety notion beyond to many businesses and so on. I could give you a couple more names, but I think what I'm trying to tell you is that each of these people understood a few things, that there were people giving and looking after them, and they went off in terms of the community and gave some more. I want to finish with this thought. I've always believed that as an elected official, and I think Ralph would agree with me, by the way, Ralph has contributed greatly to our community, by the way, and continues to do so, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. What happens is, my job is to make sure that people have a chance to gather, no different than you do. That's how we build community. We don't build community by having people stay on their own. We get it by coming out of their front door and going over to the neighbor and shaking hands and looking after one another. We have to create places, call them stadiums, call them hockey rinks, call them baseball arenas, call them anything you want, where people can gather and look after one another. So what you have done is you have created community, and I want to thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. The other thing I want to acknowledge that you do very well is that you understand a concept. The concept is one called team. In a team, you look after one another. You sacrifice, you work together, you compromise, you set an example, and you make sure that others are looked after beyond yourself. That is your real quality that you have. I thank you very much.
That pretty well concludes our program. Again, I would like to thank all of you for being here. We as Optimists appreciate you for being here, and we as Optimists love to be here. And I think we will carry on. Like I say, each club has projects, but a lot of times we work together. We work together sometimes, I should say, because it is club to club. And but we have members that have been around forever, like Neil Hollingsworth. When I first met him, I thought I'd gone to a seniors meeting, but I wasn't sure. But he's one of the most active members of our club, even in his 90s. So again, thank you for coming. Again, have some cake. It's just a disgrace to cut it, but it is a beautiful cake. But help yourself. There's coffee, there's water, and like I said, we have the books, which you should look at. We have an ongoing international movie, or not really a movie, just a kind of a documentary. And again, enjoy yourselves and have a good day. Thank you.